to the Hot Mic Podcast. The Hot Mic Podcast is where divergent points of view debate and discuss hot topics, the most pressing issues, and sometimes the not so pressing issues. I'm Nathan the Vote.
Yeah, not so pressing. Are we going to talk about violent squirrels again, or have you elevated the discourse a little this
We
week?
might talk about it again. Appreciate that, though. I can tell you like that topic. We might do that.
Oh, it's one of my favorites. It's on the tip of everyone's tongue.
The serial cutter offer is Phil Heimlich. That is the man right there.
By the way, while I'm, shall we say, on my soapbox, I have a bit of a bone to pick, sir. Yeah, you guys got these caricatures or drawings of the five of us. You four are in beautiful, bright colors. I'm in this grainy black and white. It looks like one of those campaign videos, and I'm like the guy who's doing the commercials or who's running it. It's like a negative ad against the candidate,
Phil,
and I'm that guy.
Phil, the camera
in
never
case
lies.
you couldn't tell, Phil feel away about your use of AI on his picture.
Exactly.
I think that's exactly what happened here. Exactly.
The camera never lies. Don't blame the camera for the camera.
This one does. Yeah.
Now, I will admit that the one we did last week had a bit more, it had less wrinkles. Let me just be blunt about it. For whatever reason, this one turned out with more wrinkles.
This one is like black and white. That's the whole thing.
That's not black and white. I see yellows and reds and two tones of blue. What are you talking about?
Then you're seeing things, buddy.
Actually.
Who did these?
I did them. Can you guys see the color in Phil's?
That explains everything.
It does explain everything. Yeah. Can you guys see the color? I think Phil must be colorblind.
I think he is, Nathan. Yeah. Among other things. But,
yeah. We got Raven Mundy with us. How you doing, Raven?
Doing good.
And TNT is with us. T. Nicole Taylor, how you doing?
Hello, how you doing? Good to be here.
Always good to have you both. And the voice of reason, Kevin Aldridge, how you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. You wake up, you win. Happy Friday.
I like the way that sounds. Give me 1 second here. I need to change that so it reflects accurately. There it is. Yeah, we good. Well, let's jump straight into it. To the audience, thank you so much for being here. Let's put the chat up. Boom. We should be able to see you. Yeah, there you go, everybody. How are you? Got a lot of folks in the room already. Please take a second to like and share. Jerome was here first. How you doing, Jerome? He says hello, 513. Regina's here. How you doing, Regina? Good to see you, Steban. Good to see everybody. Pamela, good to see you. Vanita, good to see you. Sierra, good to see you, Sierra. LaDonna, how you doing, LaDonna? Dina, good to see you. Is Phil colorblind? Yeah, he is. I don't know what he was talking about.
That picture, forget it.
Is clearly.
Hey, I got an idea. In fact, just hang on here a second.
All right. Oh boy, what's he doing?
Now, this was done by somebody who was on city council. Can you guys see this?
Oh, that's better.
Yeah, this. And by the way, I was married to Rebecca at the time, and if you can't read it, it says Rebecca. It says, see, I'm watching a Stanford game, and it says, Rebecca, dear, would you bring me another Diet Coke? That's what it says. All right.
So you like that one because it makes you look younger. I know what it is.
Well, I was younger when they did it.
Oh, you was younger. Oh, man. Hey, good to have everybody. Let's just jump straight into it. So the big breaking news over the last 24 hours has been the fact that the former FBI director, James Comey, has been indicted on 2 charges by the Trump DOJ. And afterward, James Comey went to his Instagram and he posted this video. Check it out and we'll get to the conversation.
My family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump, but we couldn't imagine ourselves living any other way. We will not live on our knees, and you shouldn't either. Somebody that I love dearly recently said that fear is the tool of a tyrant, and she's right. But I'm not afraid, and I hope you're not either. I hope instead you are engaged, you are paying attention, and you will vote like your beloved country depends upon it, which it does. My heart is broken for the Department of Justice, but I have great confidence in the federal judicial system, and I'm innocent. So let's have a trial and keep the faith.
Attorney General Pam Bondi also writes, no one is above the...
That was Ben Marcellus from the Midas Touch Network. He went on to give an explanation well, not an explanation, but to talk about what Pam Bondi said. Essentially said that they're going to follow the facts wherever they may go. Is this good or bad for the country, in your opinion?
Well, I'll start off, I guess. I think this is incredibly horrible for the country. This is unconstitutional. I don't know what Trump thinks. Well, I know what he thinks. He thinks that Pam Bondi, the attorney general, is his personal attorney, and that's not how this works. And I don't know what's wrong with this country right now where we feel like, I've heard so much commentary where it's like, I'm shocked. Well, or basically, these people, didn't he say this on his campaign? You shouldn't be shocked. So it's just like, regardless if he campaigned that he was going to be the retribution president, doesn't mean that it's legal or constitutional. This isn't right by no means. And if this was Biden right now, we would be calling for him to be impeached. And I don't even understand the fact that he's like deliberately, like either he just don't care or he's really that dumb to expose himself on his platform directly to the attorney general by saying, I want this person, that person to be indicted. They're bad people. They're guilty as hell. I mean, just on that alone is going to mess this case up. It could be dismissed because he has essentially tainted the jury. He has the biggest platform in the country. You can even say the world. So if the president says someone is guilty, that carries a lot of weight. And then on top of that, he has he is using his the attorney general in a way she's supposed to be an independent body of the government, and the mere fact that she's going along with it, she's violating her oath of office. The attorneys that operate under her, a lot of them quit. Some were fired because they wouldn't pursue the charges here because there wasn't enough evidence, and we could go deeper into what was alleged and everything else. But right now, I heard what James Comey said in that statement. I think that was very powerful and very good, and I'm excited about his attitude to just like, let's take this on because I'm innocent, and that's everybody's right and everybody's position in this country, where you're innocent until proven guilty, or presumption of innocence until proven guilty. But he also has money, you know what I mean? So if Trump can do this to someone like him, just think of somebody smaller. If he could just direct his anger, and mostly he has a lot of anger for Democrats. He had even mentioned Jasmine Crockett in a press conference, literally like, oh, she's really what did he say, like low level or
low IQ individual.
Low IQ individual. And he could be setting his targets on her. And I know she doesn't have like a whole lot of money, you know what I'm saying, or just anyone in on a more basic level. He sets his sights on you. You may everything could be on your side, but just the money to, have an attorney and everything else, that costs a lot, and that could bankrupt people. That could, really set them back financially. So I think this is unfair. This isn't right and unconstitutional. And I wish we had a Congress with a backbone to face him right now.
I think you need more than a Congress with the backbone to stand up to him. I think the American people have to stand up to Donald Trump, because if there's one thing that, he makes more apparent every day. He made it apparent on the campaign trail, and he makes it more apparent every day, whether it's with executive orders or things like this, that he has no regard for the Constitution, that he has no regard for anything other than what serves his sometimes childish emotional needs, whether it's trying to get Jimmy Kimmel off of the air or whether it's trying to take retribution on the political opponents, which he said in front of the entire world that he hates. Look, this is extremely dangerous. And I think one of the things that keeps most Americans, particularly those on the political right, from calling out more of this is the tribalism, because there's no way that you can look at some of the things that Donald does, claim to be someone who loves this country, and be okay with some of these unconstitutional and, quite frankly, unlawful things that he's doing. Donald Trump for years has said he's wanted an attorney general that would be that would act as sort of his personal attorney. He tried to get Bill Barr to do that. He tried to get others to do that. They would not do it. He finally has found someone in Pam Bondi who will do it. And Donald Trump will fire and get rid of everybody that he needs to until he finds somebody who will carry out the things that he wants to do. And, if you look at places like Hungary and other places where there are dictators that Trump says that he loves and that they're strongmen, this is exactly what they do. They get rid of the bureaucrats, they get rid of these other people, and they replace them with loyalists. This is what Donald Trump and his group is trying to do at every level. This is what they told you they were going to do in Project 2025, and nobody believed it. And the only people who still don't want to accept it and believe it right now are the people who are just so hateful in their heart towards liberals or Democrats that they don't give a hoot what Donald Trump is doing, never realizing that all of this stuff is going to come back and eventually back up on them, because guys like Donald Trump don't stop. They're going, and eventually he's going to do something that's going to impact those folks and their families that they don't like. And when they speak up, he's going to do exactly to them what he's doing to James Comey. Now, I will say, while I don't like what Donald Trump is doing for the country, I do think it's a little bit ironic that we might not even have Donald Trump if it wasn't for James Comey and that garbage that he pulled on Hillary Clinton with the investigation back in 2015 during the election, where he came out with his announcement about looking into the emails. Now, you can't say unequivocally that was the thing that sunk Hillary Clinton, but I think at the time we kind of agree that sure didn't help the outcome at the end when Comey did that. So sometimes, as we say, you reap what you sow. And James Comey might be reaping a little bit, rightly or wrongly, he might be reaping some of the seeds that he sowed back in 2015 when he decided to pull that little stunt with Hillary Clinton in the emails.
Phil, Raymond, you guys want to jump in?
I think that a very important point, which Nicole touched on, is that Trump can get what he wants, even if this case is thrown out of court, which I'll bet any amount of money that he's not going to be found guilty. And in fact, it may be tossed out before trial based on vindictive prosecution, because there's a lot of evidence of that. But Trump knows this is going to cost him probably $500,000, I'm guessing. In Washington, D.C., hiring a prominent criminal attorney or firm, probably $500,000 at least. And whether he has some money or not, that is a big hit for anybody. And Trump knows this. So he knows this is a way, and it also creates a chilling effect, because everybody else who might want to speak out against Donald Trump knows, even though I haven't done anything, that could be me having to hire those attorneys. Now, I think it is worth pointing out, which has nothing to do with this case, as Kevin said, that Comey had I would say a tendency for grandstanding, not anything vindictive, and I always respected him, because when he did not indict Hillary Clinton, he should have just said, we haven't found evidence enough to indict her. That's it. No prosecutor or attorney general or whatever has ever gotten and said, well, she didn't commit the crime, but she shouldn't have done this and shouldn't have done that. That was just him wanting to get in front of the cameras. That was way over the top, not to mention the thing he did a few days before, as Kevin said, a few days before the election, that might very well have thrown it to Trump. And it is kind of ironic that Trump's targeting this guy. But let's be clear, those were what I call mistakes. They weren't crimes. And what he's accused here of is just ridiculous. And I think you guys know the background, but just to make sure our listeners do, there was a career prosecutor that Trump appointed in that Eastern District of Virginia who looked at this for like 6 months and just said, there's nothing there. There's not enough evidence. I'm not going to charge him. All right. Now, one of the reasons, by the way, he did that is just, if you want, a selfish one, because If you prosecute somebody that you know or have good reason to believe is not guilty of the crime, you can get disbarred for that. And I have no doubt that entered that guy's mind, Siebert, and Trump. He didn't want years from now or months from now anybody taking him like Rudy Giuliani and taking his license away for unethical conduct, because it is unethical. And again, you probably know this, the woman that he appointed, Lindsay Halligan, has never prosecuted a case in her life. She was an insurance lawyer, okay? And not only that, was Trump's personal attorney. I mean, and she probably walked over there. She didn't know any more about indicting somebody than anybody off the street would. So the whole thing is a complete sham. But nonetheless, Trump knows how to push the buttons, and he knows how to, as Comey said, he knows how to instill fear in his enemies, and that's what he's done.
I'm personally just curious to see what the legal strategy is going to be, because none of it sounds, founded. None of it sounds legit. And if I'm curious to see why Pam Bondi would even go to these lengths if there is nothing that she feels she can actually prosecute. Like, what is the end game for her? Like, we already know what the end game is.
Donald Trump told her to do it, and she knows from his history that if she doesn't do it, she's going to be at the door.
But at the risk of losing her license, like, that's the risk that she's willing to take for Donald Trump, who we already know once he's done with you and his use for you, you're out the door anyway.
Actually, the person whose license is at risk is the one who brought the charges. Sorry.
Yeah, let her finish.
I'm just saying I'm less concerned about where Donald Trump's mind is, and even where Comey's mind is, because Comey knows what his options are. Like Nicole said, there's a very wealthy man with probably a decent lawyer who is going to be able to get him a decent legal strategy to get himself out of this thing. I don't really have any doubt about that. My mind is more so pointed in the direction of, what is Pam Bondi gonna do if this falls apart? And then Comey decides to take this a step further and see about getting her disbarred, or see about, his own measures for retribution. Y'all have defamed me. You've accused me of crimes that I've not committed in a political, like, for a political agenda. There has to be some kind of way for him, and I'm sure he'll be discussing it with his lawyer. There's gonna be some fallback, and it's not gonna come back on Donald Trump. It's gonna be on Pam Bondi. So it's just interesting to me that she is willing to risk her whole entire livelihood for Donald Trump, who, again, we know, whether you play along or not, as soon as he don't have no use for you no more, you up out of there anyway. As soon as I can't figure out a way to, or I don't find use for you to be on my payroll or be on my team, I'll move you up out of here for somebody else who's gonna do something else for me. So I'm curious to know about her mindset behind all this than anything else.
Well, okay, I got a couple things I want to say. I'm gonna try to get to it real quickly. So first, I want to say, like, people don't really know who. I get the feeling that a lot of people don't know who Donald Trump really is. And just in the way of giving that education, for me, I like to go to sources who are close to whatever I'm talking about. So I want to make a quick recommendation of some people that have YouTube channels and social media platforms where people can get some information from insiders about Donald Trump. So at the top of the list is Michael Wolff, who's a prolific author who spent hundreds of hours with Donald Trump and also Michael Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein, I'm sorry. And he's got a really insider view into the White House. It's a real resource. Anthony Scaramucci, who used to work in the White House, he's got a YouTube channel. He talks about the insider perspective of Donald Trump. Michael Cohen, who we already know, he was a bag man, lawyer for Donald Trump. He actually went to jail for a little while, got some charges after dealing with Donald Trump. Mary Trump, who is his niece, she gives you that family insight and perspective. And then Tony Schwartz. Tony Schwartz is the real author of The Art of the Deal, who now expresses a lot of regret and offers a lot of insight into the mind of Donald Trump. So for me, when I'm trying to figure out where Trump is coming from, I like to go to these sources because they were close to him. So people should check it out and decide whether you think it's relevant or not. But,
adding to that, Nathan, even you're 100% right. Those are people who are kind of personally close to him. But think about the people who worked for him in his first term: General John Kelly, John Bolton, Mark Milley, Mark Esper. These were high level, and they all say the same thing about him.
Yeah, they do.
He is unfit. That is
John Bolton in particular. John, I'm glad you brought his name up because I would be remiss in putting him on the list. He in particular has a clear command of the English language and is able to fully articulate and express what he saw and what he feels. So you're right. John Bolton, he doesn't have a YouTube channel, but he's got a lot of interviews he's done since leaving working inside the Trump administration. So that's where I go. I don't go to liberal
and the
sources.
FBI, remember,
I go to let me
FBI
finish.
raided his house.
I hear you, Phil, but let me finish first. I don't go to liberal sources. I go to more conservative sources because they're closer to the heart of the subject. So I think everybody made points I agree with. What I want to do is I want to talk about, Twin said something, who's a frequent caller to a lot of shows and podcasts here in the Cincinnati area. He writes, so why y'all crashing out about what Donald Trump said? He said what he was going to do. And I've heard this many times before, and I think it's absolutely absurd. It's morally absurd. I mean, by Twin's logic, what he's saying is that if somebody commits a crime, as long as they announce it beforehand, it's all good. That it makes no sense whatsoever. I think it's really it's really hiding and making excuses.
If I tell you I'm gonna slap you in the face and I slap you in the face, you can't get mad because I told you I was gonna slap you in the face.
Because I told you, right. If I said I was gonna rob a bank, but then I go rob the bank, you can't hold me accountable because I said it. So because Trump or anybody else does something that is against the Constitution, that is bad for the country, that's bad for my family, that's bad for your family, just because he said it beforehand does not exonerate him for the impact of what he actually does. I mean, that argument it's infantile. And I've heard it from people over and over and over again. It makes no sense, as if predictability is a justification, right? As if intent doesn't excuse the harm. I mean, it makes no sense whatsoever. Rather than dealing with the reality that we are seeing some things that are going to have a negative impact on all of our families, no matter who you are, you want to talk about, he said he was going to do it beforehand. We are grown. We're not children. Grow up.
Yeah, and
hold on. This is not a game.
Yeah,
we're not playing. This is not a game. It's not joke time. This is real life consequences that every American may have to deal with. I hope it don't go that way, but we all got to deal with this. But go right ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say I've been following some of Twin's comments, and no disrespect to the brother, but a lot of what he said in the comments hasn't made a lot of sense. And here's the other thing with that. Yes, Donald Trump did say and announce a lot of things. The problem is that a lot of people who said they voted with him said they didn't believe that he was actually going to do what he said he was going to do. So bringing it out into light is necessary to confront those people who said they didn't think Donald Trump is serious. So now where you at? And, Twin might have been among those people. I don't know what his political leanings is or how he voted.
He voted for Donald
Trump. But I think it's ridiculous to suggest that we should not be talking about constitutional violations with a guy who has no regard for the truth, no regard for law, and is capable of doing anything. Donald Trump is testing the limits of every institution and every law to see how far he can push it before he breaks it. Not because he's interested in making America better, but Donald Trump is only interested in his own aggregation of power and influence, and that's what you got to realize about this guy. He don't care about you because he will use people at Pam Bondi and all of these other people, and the minute you go against him, you tell him no, this isn't right, no, we're not going to do that, he disposes of you. And I don't understand how anybody can support somebody with that. Look, it's principles. Either you believe in something or you don't. I get tired of people saying, oh, well, they did it to him, so he's getting payback. This dude ran on the campaign against weaponizing government. He vilified weaponizing government. He said the government was weaponized against him, and he condemned that. So you would think that somebody who condemns the weaponization of government wouldn't weaponize the government when they got in power. So this whole argument of, oh, they did it to him, he's just paying back, then that just further illustrates that he was a liar. that he was a liar, that he doesn't really believe in the principle against the not weaponizing the government, because that's exactly what he's doing. If you just take 5 minutes to just sit down and think, and Donald Trump says it, I love the poorly educated. I love the poorly educated. And he does, because they drink his Kool-Aid. They just swallow it without even tasting it. You know, you ever seen somebody that eat like that? They eat so fast they ain't even taste it. Man,
usually when
that's how that's how some of these MAGA people are. They just swallow whatever he says without even thinking logically about it. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating. If you are a thinking person, it's frustrating.
What I feel, brother Twin, what you need to understand, what we're seeing right now, it's a problem because it's the dismantling of our democracy. And I know, a lot of people say that and it just kind of flies over people's head, but our Constitution is something to like really uphold and respect, because in other countries, when we're talking about dictatorships and monarchies, or they live a different kind of way. This is a free country. This is an independent country, and the way we run our government is in a way where there's 3 equal branches of government, and no one has more power than the other, not even the president. And so when he start doing things where it's like he's above the law, what stops everyone else respecting the rule of law? Why do I have to go to court? Why do I have to be in prison and do anything if he can do it? You know what I mean? This is the leader of our country, and he's blatantly breaking the Constitution, breaking the law, and it's being allowed to happen. Eventually, society may wake up, and like when you feel like you've been wrong, why can't you act like a big baby like him and be refusing, or what I'm saying, or take up arms? We have the Second Amendment. It's a whole lot of problems that comes with the mentality of what Trump is doing. He's making us divided, where we're looking at each other as enemies, Republican and Democrats, when we're the United States. And he's specifically targeting the other side like we're the enemy, to almost create a civil war. That's a problem. And when society begins to mistrust the government, even after he's long gone, what's keeping everybody to feel like, that every prosecution isn't malicious? You know what I mean? Like they're supposed to be apolitical, away from politics. He slams politics into our court system and everything else, just with his statement and just his ignorance, pure ignorance. And it's a shame. And so if you're not angry about it, you're not paying attention, or you may not really understand what's going on. But this is serious. It's serious for a reason, and people need to speak up. I agree with Brother Kevin. Like it got to be shown through the power of the people. So I'm really tired of talking. I'm ready to vote, basically.
He's done an amazing job of blurring some very important lines. And it's almost like a catch-22 type of experience, because in places where there were once hard boundaries for what is right and wrong, he's made those places blurry. But in that process, he's also exposed the places in which we probably should have had a boundary there, and we don't. And because we have not had one, and we now have the kind of president that we have, who was not a president of these United States, but rather a president of his own personal interests, of his own whatever party serves those interess. He is a president of his party. He is not the president of these United States, because if he was, his motivations would not just be to serve his party. It would be to serve these entire United States. That's just where we are with government right now. We have a bunch of politicians who, when they go into that office, they have no interest in serving the entirety of their constituency. They have only interest in serving their personal interest first, and then whatever aligns with that the people who voted for them vote for. And it makes it difficult past this point. He only gets another going on 3 years now to do what he's doing, and I'm sure things are going to get a lot worse in those next 3 years. But after he's gone, where do we go? Where do we go? How do we begin to repair the damage he's already done and he's continuing to do in this space, if we don't start now by holding him accountable? I agree with what Nicole said. Congress, where's your backbone? What's your backbone? What kind of government will we have once that man is out of here? whoever comes next is gonna have to either spend their whole 4 to 8 years doing a cleanup job, or they're going to build on whatever this man has already done. And most likely, if they're Republican, that's exactly what they're gonna do.
You know what? I didn't read all of his comments, just the one that you referred to. But maybe what he was saying, maybe he was speaking to the people who voted for Trump and saying, "Hey, look, don't complain about this. He told you what he was going to do, and you still voted for him." And you know, one of the expressions that I hear all the time by commentators is, "We didn't. People who voted for Trump. We didn't vote for this. We didn't vote for this." Bull, you didn't. You did, and you knew. So nobody should say we didn't vote for that, because to give Trump some credit, he said exactly what he was going to do. So anybody who supported him or voted for him has no excuses. And I think one thing about this Comey indictment that may be a little different from all the other things that Trump has done, if you're a guy like a Lindsey Graham or any of these cowards that kind of defend Trump, you can maybe do it on tariffs or maybe do it on Ukraine, but this is a hard thing to defend. This is a pretty tough thing to say, oh, yeah, the president should be able to order the prosecution of his enemies. But unfortunately, as everyone has said, I have no confidence that the people, Republicans in Congress, Senate, or even governors like Mike DeWine, that they simply don't have the guts to speak up.
Michael, you can write the left slogan, "No one is above the law." Comey lied under oath about authorizing leaks. Guess who got caught? Again, I'm not a lawyer, and I've only read maybe 2 articles about it. But from what I'm reading, and also taking the information, there was some reluctance inside the DOJ itself. They recommended to not go forward with an indictment. I'm not sure if that's true. Solid, Michael, but we'll find out. What do you think, Phil, from what you've read and your take on it? Do they have a strong case against Comey?
Well, first, okay, couple things. The best, as you referred to, the best evidence that this is a totally, pardon my language, bullshit case is because the Trump appointed U.S. Attorney Earl Siebert, okay, and again, this is a guy Trump appointed, and apparently he was enough influenced by Trump to order his office to study this for like the case for 5 or 6 months. Okay, the fact that this guy, who's an experienced career prosecutor and who's probably trying to keep Trump happy, that he couldn't stand up and say that he had to basically bite the bullet and say the evidence isn't there. I mean, that is the strongest indication. Now, if you want to get into the nitty gritty, first of all, it's such a picky little thing. They're saying whatever 5 years ago when he testified in front of Congress and they asked him this question, did you authorize an FBI official to leak news to the media? I mean, come on. You know, it's such a little tiny thing. This isn't anything of any seriousness. And keep one thing in mind is this indictment is very bare bones. It doesn't really get into the specifics of who did he allegedly give this information, make this order to leak this information. What was the information? And what will happen next in this case is the government will be required to file a bill of particulars. And the difference between that and the indictment is that requires them to say exactly, specifically what he did, who he did it with, who he did it to.
You know, one thing is go ahead, Kevin.
I think to me it just boils down to a he said, she said. I mean, what evidence do they have that they can conclusively say that James Comey authorized this and that in fact he lied under oath? Basically, what you've got is him saying he didn't authorize what's the guy's name, Phil?
And I think they say it's Andrew McCabe.
Yeah, Andrew McCabe. So look, one of the two of them is lying. There's no question about that because McCabe said that Comey knew that he was going to go to the press and leak this information. And Comey said he didn't do any such thing. So one of the two of them is not being truthful. I mean, when you've got one person saying, hey, my boss knew I was going to do this and I took that as his okay. Comey saying, I didn't tell him to do that. So basically what you've got is a he said, she said, and unless you got somebody on tape or that conversation or there's some documentation of the authorization, you have no conclusive proof one way or the other. So that's why I think this case doesn't go anywhere, because they don't have any more evidence to show it.
It could be just a miscommunication too. I mean, McCabe and Comey were, I think, fairly close, and there's no reason one of them would lie about the other one. I mean, Comey might even have legitimately forgotten about it. This isn't like somebody robbed a bank. It's one, and what is a leak? So there's a lot of explanations.
I actually heard that.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Nicole.
No, I actually heard, and responded to Michael Egan, that the individual Andrew McCabe, and I'm glad y'all figured out the name. I was trying to look it up, but that after further investigation through the Inspector General, remember when we used to have Inspector Generals, they had re-interviewed Andrew McCabe, and he actually explained that he went forward, and then he told Comey afterwards, and so that's why it's a big nothing burger. Because, and then also, I think that Andrew McCabe, he's not even a part of the FBI. He's like a media person of some sort.
No, he used to be a top FBI guy, and Trump drummed him out. Trump was responsible for getting him kicked out.
He was responsible for getting him kicked out. So during the time with Comey,
Trump got rid of him in his first term because, you know why? Well, he came up because McCabe's wife is a Democratic candidate or something in Virginia or some crap like that. But he was a high-level FBI guy.
Okay. But be that as it may, they were saying that after the investigation with the Inspector General, when he was revisited by this question, because they had to dig deeper into who was who, he said, and they have this on the record already, that he actually moved forward without authorization and told him afterwards. And so, they could go ahead with their real estate attorney and try to make something out of nothing, but it wasn't a lie. And at the same time, what Trump is trying to do is basically return the favor. He's mad because he has a mugshot. He's mad that his house was raided. And so a lot of this was like, Melania, she had to, go through people going through all our things. We had to go through this. So he doesn't even care really if they win. It's just for them to have to experience what he had to experience, being interrogated, whatever, where he feels, that he didn't do anything wrong, but there was enough evidence there to show that he did. And in some cases found guilty. And in other cases, had the clock didn't run out, he probably would have been found guilty on more things because the evidence was abundant. But be that as it may, he's on his retribution tour, and no one should take it lightly, like, oh, well, tick for tack. This, he has a right to do this because this happened to him. If we continue this revenge tour when Democrats come into office, I don't want to see any Democrat administration act like this. I don't want them taking retribution on Republicans and everything like that. I want this country to run normally and function on things that we really need to tackle, like gun violence and everything else. So all of this kangaroo circus clown show that we have right now in the office, everyone should be disgusted by it. And you should be mortally disgusted when you have your Constitution just being trampled on and not respected, and people not honoring that oath of office, which to me is like, we should have known we would get to this point, because everything is under good faith. Some things isn't like under the law, it's just under good faith. We supposed to know not to do certain things, but he is just crossing those boundaries, stepping over those lines, and mainly because, like we keep saying, he's operating through fear, and people who force their power through fear is being a tyranny. If he doesn't fear the people, if he doesn't fear us, that we can get him out, or if he doesn't fear the other branches of government, like the Congress being able to impeach him, or an attorney general that should enforce the law when he's breaking the law, then he has the world in his hand. He can do what he wanted. That's what he's doing right now. He's showing it all in our faces, and we all should be appalled by that.
Here's a quick question. If the Democrats take the House majority in 2026, if they feel like there are crimes that are verifiable, they've got evidence, should they pursue impeachment against Donald Trump, in your opinion?
I think they absolutely will probably try to pursue impeachment for Donald Trump, particularly on some of these things that he's doing right now. I mean,
I'm saying, should they? My question is, should they, in your opinion?
Yes, because I think what he's doing right now is unconstitutional and is absolutely impeachable offenses. I mean, Trump has violated the Constitution, I think, in any number of ways since taking office in terms of some of the things. And frankly, we've been fortunate in some instances that courts have stopped him. But there's no question that he is attempting to abuse his power. I mean, and he's not even, as TNT said, he's playing in our faces right now with it. He's going on Truth Social and saying, get me an indictment on Comey now, right? And these are the sorts of things he's doing without zero evidence. One of the things I would take exception with that Michael said is that Comey's been caught. He's been indicted. He hasn't been caught. You caught when you go before a jury and they say you're guilty. So being indicted in a sham setup by Donald Trump is not necessarily being caught. Now, I'm not going to say that I think lying in front of Congress under oath and under testimony isn't a serious matter. It absolutely is. And I think those who do that should be punished for it. But let's be real. People lie in congressional testimonies all the time. We probably got 3 brand new Supreme Court justices who lied during their confirmation hearings in front of Congress about what they were and were not going to do about abortion, flat out lied about it. And then when they got in there, changed it. But nobody is suggesting that we ought to indict the Supreme Court justices who flat out lied about Roe versus Wade. They lied.
I don't think, Kevin, a lot of people who are sworn in for testimony lie in front of Congress. I didn't say. If I said a lot, I retract that. I won't say that a lot of people do it. I'm saying there are instances where people do come before Congress in congressional hearings and they lie, and it's later shown that they lie, that they don't go back and indict those individuals. Again, I'll give you an example. Kavanaugh lied, Roe versus Wade. I disagree with you on that point.
Lied about Roe. Were they not under sworn testimony? I
disagree with you on that, because here's the situation, and I think this is really what they said. And they have to say this. Let's be honest. When you're up, okay, what they said, and again, I have no empathy for those Supreme Court guys who, by the way, gave Donald Trump complete immunity. So no matter how corrupt this whole thing is, as Nicole said, the people, Pam Bondi and this prosecutor in Virginia, they're the ones that are going to take the hit. He won't, because he's got immunity. But just to clarify this, whenever the guys people come for Congress on the Supreme Court, okay, they're always trying to get them say, how are you going to rule? Are you going to uphold this? And what they usually say is, we will respect precedents. Okay, that's kind of what they say, and they have to say that, really. And it would be improper for them to say, no, when I get on there, I'm going to overturn Roe versus Wade. So I think you're being a little.
Phil, you are trying to thread the needle, Phil. You are trying to thread the needle. Look, saying that I'm going to respect precedent and then disrespect precedent, I don't care how you try to clean that up or what you feel like they have to say for political or to say what would be inappropriate. How is that any? If that's the case, I'd say I'm the same thing about James Comey. Hey, if somebody asked me about whether or not I authorize leaks, I have to say no. It would be improper of me as the director.
That's a factual. That's a factual.
That I'm okay with leaks.
No, that's whether he said or did something. We're talking about what these guys are going to do when they're on the Supreme Court and they have cases. And the fact is, the Supreme Court has the right on any case to either follow precedent or overrule it. They rarely overrule, but it does happen. Okay, like Dred Scott was overruled. So I'm just saying it's not a big deal, but I'm just saying I don't know that saying I'm going to follow precedent really constitutes a lie in the same way that they're trying to suggest Comey did.
Okay,
I'll let you
get away with that, Phil. But it is a Stretch Armstrong stretch what you just did.
Right, Kevin. The fact that you're going to let me get away with something just warms my heart. So that makes my day. I'm just going to say I'll leave it at that.
Let me introduce a new topic here. So let's bring it back to home a little bit. Ohio Republicans passed a pornography age verification ID law as a part of the state budget. Let me tell you how it works. Ohioans will need to submit their photo ID to watch pornography beginning this fall. And they were specifically targeting some of the big explicit content giants like Pornhub. And proponents of this idea, they say that they're protecting children. Quote, we're going to preserve and protect the innocence of our kids here in the state of Ohio, from one Republican lawmaker. Is this a good idea or bad idea? The way it works is verification has to be done by submitting a photo of state ID and then entering your personal information into a third-party system. They'll run your details to see whether, and also compare it to any government databases. They could also use facial recognition technology to scan your photograph before you get access to some of these explicit content websites. Is this a good idea? Bad idea?
Well, I could swear.
Let me finish the whole question. Will this help or hurt Ohio society?
I thought for sure that they didn't ask for my. Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
By the telling yourself, huh, Chuck? By the tell on yourself. What do you think?
Hey, look, you guys.
Do you see how red he is right now?
Look, you guys can check my viewing history for years and you won't find any of that. So don't try to fit that on me.
Could it be that Sexy Phil is your user ID? I don't know.
I'm at least not as bad as who was the guy who was running for governor of North Carolina? Who was that guy, Mark something?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember
Who
that.
had
Yeah.
all the he had this whole porn history.
Yeah.
But what do you think about Ohio's new porn age verification laws? Is this a good idea, bad idea? Will this help children, hurt
It's a waste
society?
of money. It's a waste of money. And let me tell you something in case you didn't know this. Your children don't need porn websites to watch porn anymore. If they have social media, they've seen it. They see it probably 100 times a day, especially if they got Twitter or what I guess was now X or Instagram or TikTok. Like nobody, I'm just gonna keep it a buck. Nobody's going to Pornhub or whatever these other sites are anymore to watch porn. It's all over Facebook. I guarantee you, if your children have social media, they have access to porn that you don't have to even look for. It's just there on their timeline. This is a waste of time. It's a waste of money. It's a wasted effort. Move on to something more important, like maybe how to stop having our children have to go to school and practice, these drills where they got to make split-second decisions on how they're going to survive an active shooter. This is a waste of time. It's a waste of money. Allocate that money that they're looking at in the budget for something more important than this. This is not important.
Yeah, I wouldn't go so far as to say, in terms of what Raven is saying, that it's not important or that it's a waste of time. I mean, look, I agree with what she says. I think the intention, perhaps the intention of the bill is good, but the effectiveness or the ability to impact it in the way that they might want to, that's the part of it that I agree with what Raven said is this something that through this law you can actually impact in any real way the access that young people do have to pornography. I mean, the reality of it is, and I looked up some stats on this, that basically 93% of teen boys and something like 60 to 70% of teen girls have seen pornography by the time they have been exposed to it by the time that they reach their teenage years. And increasingly, they're seeing it as early as the ages of 9 and 13. So I think it is a problem that, we do need to be aware of, and we do need to be looking at solutions on how do you mitigate this? Because the reality is the world is becoming, not becoming, it is increasingly sexualized. I mean, I agree with what Raven said. You can't get on Instagram, you can't get on Facebook, you can't get on anything and not see somebody showing off. If they ain't naked, they almost halfway naked anyway on there, showing off everything. And so, it's tough because it's hard to stop kids from getting exposure to it. Do I think this bill is going to have the net result that these lawmakers are hoping that it will? I don't think so. Will it stop some kids from being exposed to it? Maybe. But really, more than anything, it's going to make it increasingly difficult, I think, on the companies that do deal in this. We're talking about some extra costs that these companies would have to insure to protect people's identities. I think it does expose a lot more people to identity theft and cyber attacks and leaks and those sorts of things. And so I think, and if this is your goal, they might be successful in this. Companies that deal in pornography might just decide, Ohio is not worth it. We're not going to spend all this money to be able to show our content in Ohio, so we just don't do it. And maybe that's maybe that ultimately that's also the end result of this that they're trying to achieve, is they don't necessarily care if the porn industry don't do business in Ohio. So I won't pretend like it's not an issue that we shouldn't be concerned about, and that lawmakers shouldn't be looking at ways to try to address this. We can always make the argument, are there more important things that lawmakers should be focused on? I'm not opposed to having that conversation either, but I won't go so far as to say this isn't something that we shouldn't be concerned about, or it isn't an important issue about what our young people are exposed to.
Well, I'm going to lean more on the side of Raven because, one, who's keeping the data? If you have to verify your personal information, who's keeping that information? And what's the protections from keeping that information hacked? If you have to send in your ID or facial recognition and everything else, that's a lot right there. Why does the government feel like they have to be the secondary parents? I don't know about you, but I have an iPhone, and on there you have ways to control the screen time, restrict sites, and you just have to do the work. And by all means, kids will find a way at some point. You know what I mean? No matter what you do. I know my kids one time, like, I'll sleep and put my phone in front of my face and get in my phone. You know what I'm saying? Like, they'll figure out a way to get in, if they really, really trying to do things. And just like Raven said, like, there's so many other platforms that they can go to. Like, you're just targeting this one specific platform, and they can visit and see these things almost everywhere. And then just on regular TV or cable stations, everything is almost on the level of soft porn. It's just like the music is explicit. It's like an uphill battle. What are you supposed to do? But one thing I really want to emphasize is I'm worried about young white men, and why they're so angry. And some are like socially inept, and they're not.
I'm sorry. Did you say young white men?
Young white men.
Oh,
because some are socially inept, and they're not getting any. And I've heard enough times.
Are you speaking from personal experience, or what is okay?
No,
let her finish, Phil. Let her finish.
All right.
I'm speaking to what
go ahead.
Profiles of a mass shooter are often people who are suffering from isolation, loneliness, unemployed, single, sexually frustrated, are often rejected, or just have difficulties maintaining relationships. That's the profile. And so I don't know. My spidey senses is telling me that if the government restricts the porno, that may lead to more of these young people popping off, and no pun intended. But maybe you should allow people, young people do their thing, and that might save some lives. I'm just saying.
Can I add something to agree with Nicole? I actually, and I've said this before, I believe, and I'm not kidding here, I believe in legalized prostitution for a lot of reasons. Okay, you can control it, it'll end sex trafficking, and Bill Maher's talked about this. Just like Nicole said, if you look at the characteristics of almost every one of these mass shooters, they're basically lonely, horny guys. I mean, when it gets down to it, frankly, if they could walk down the street and pay some woman to do their thing, whatever. I actually agree. I think it would cut down on a lot of that, because they are extremely. I agree. They're lonely and they're frustrated. I think that's an excellent point.
Yeah.
Let me jump in on that and say, Yeah, I mean, Nicole kind of, I agree with where she was going with that. So I got a couple reasons why I don't like it. Number one, I feel like it's a slippery slope to censorship. So today they're telling us they want to block porn sites or make it more difficult to get to explicit content sites. Tomorrow it'll be to artists or to whatever they tell us that is bad for children. I just don't like it. I mean, we're adults. We should be able to go onto our phones and get access without the government putting up a whole bunch of roadblocks to content where people aren't being harmed. They're legally responsible. They're consenting adults. I don't think there's anything wrong with it whatsoever. I'm also worried about the cybersecurity risks. Who's going to have our data? What are they doing with our data? But back to the point that Phil just made there. I mean, I'm just concerned about what this will do for a lot of lonely young men who don't have a woman in their life. I think he used the term socially inept. They don't know. They've never spit game before. They don't know how to talk to women. And so maybe
I should teach kind of a core.
Yeah, I think so. I think you should do that. That'd be a great thing.
Game.
Yeah, Sexy Phil. How the art of game. The art of game by Sexy Phil.
He's gonna get me now. Kevin's gonna get me.
No, I wanted Nathan to finish his point. I wanted Nathan to finish his point because I was curious where he was going with that.
Yeah. So my point is that you got a lot of. I mean, I'm really piggybacking off what Kevin and also what TNT said, and I think it's a fact that these porn sites might be the only comfort in terms of the opposite sex and getting off, for lack of a better term, that some of these people have. And I'm also concerned about, there are far worse and darker places on the internet where people can get this type of video satisfaction that's not as clean as a Pornhub, that's not as regulated, it's not as professional as a Pornhub.
Or it may include violence.
Yeah, that may include violence. I'm concerned that people might be pushed to that. So, once again, you got primarily the Republican Party, the party of freedom and free choice, curtailing freedoms and free choice in the name of children. And I just think that there's potentially more harm to be done by Ohio society than good to be gained.
So, are any of you going to respond to my thing about legalizing prostitution?
Here's the only thing I would push back on that a little bit, Nathan, is, and I think that, again, if I've done some research and kind of looked into this, and I think, we underestimate the damages that pornography actually does. Okay. And I think that not just to marriage, and I get what you're saying about, hey, consenting adults can do what they do. And even the fact that you're talking about young men finding comfort in pornography versus real people, that illustrates the larger issues and challenges in terms of what pornography does, not only in terms of the damage that it does for women. I think there have been studies that have shown that, a lot of the unhealthiness of relationships between men and women and what men expect of women sexually comes from, bad messaging that they get from pornography. So, it seems like, and I get it, free choice, grown folks can do what grown folks do. But this is why I was saying, like, I'm not going to go as far as Raven went to say that pornography doesn't play a detrimental role in some ways into our society in the way that
that wasn't what I was saying. That's not what I was saying.
I'm just talking about in terms of the importance of the issue in this notion that there are more important things out there. Look, that's all relative, but I think that we can't underestimate the negative impacts that this has on society. The other thing that I would challenge you to, Nathan, is what the law is doing is it's asking adults to register, right? To show some ID, to show that you're 18 years of age. It's the same way, if you remember back in the old days when you would go into the bookstore, right? They had the dirty magazines on the wall. And if you were a kid or somebody, you walked in, the store owner, unless he was, a ditty type, wouldn't let you get, and they even had it over the brown paper bag, right? And you had to show your ID, like with alcohol, if you were going to purchase the dirty magazines, right? So now the dirty magazines have gone from the wall to the bookstore to your phone and the computer. So this is sort of something that with the digital age you've gotten away from, is that type of regulation for pornographic material to make sure that there's always been a standard that you didn't want kids to get access to this. And there were always roadblocks in place until we moved to the internet and the digital age, where they were really kind of like not putting up those standards. It became easier for young people to get exposed to it. So I would only push back that it's not saying you don't have the freedom as an adult to be able to go view these things. It's just saying that you need to prove that you are of an age to be able to consume. And
is anybody going to respond?
That's very different than censorship. That's very different.
Is anybody, either you guys or the callers, going to respond to my position, which I believe in, about legalizing prostitution?
Yeah, I have no problem with that. Consenting adults, if you want to do this, is legal in Vegas, so I have no problem with it. It's actually going to be safer because you can regulate STDs, people who are HIV positive, who are not. So
and sex trafficking too,
and sex trafficking as well. But I will push back on that, or I will respond to your pushback. But I want to bring Edsel on. Edsel, he was backstage. I was coming straight to you, Edsel. You jumped off, so we'll continue with the conversation. The only thing, in some levels, it feels like it might end up being de facto censorship, because the difference between doing it in person is you show your person your ID, they look at it, and it's gone. In the digital age, you upload it and you don't know where it's going. You don't know where this information is going. And I think that will deter a lot of people, a lot of adults who may feel some kind of way about putting up their license or their government issued ID and just putting it out into the internet.
But I don't think that's any different. But I don't think that's any different than any transaction we make online, though, Nathan. I mean,
it is, because this is more sensitive.
We make determinations all the time about what sites or what vendors we feel like are safe.
It is, but this is
our credit card.
This is linked to pornography. Yeah, but this is not making like a Uber or DoorDash. This is something that's linked to explicit material. And I can see it, a lot of adults who may be having professional jobs or whatever, they just feel squeamish about having their ID linked to something like that.
I agree.
You have the possibility of trying to being blackmailed.
Yeah,
it's a privacy violation, especially like in so many of these companies, they're not able to protect your information properly. And so all it takes is for like a country or just some hacker to hack it and then have it on the black market, or just like blackmail you and expose you, especially if you're in a high position or anything else. People have had to step down for less, you know what I mean, for just things that they're doing, or just people don't want that exposure. So I don't think that's a good idea at all.
Right. And so now you got some guy. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say to Nicole's point, a couple of weeks ago, we watched a CEO and a higher up in the company just be cheating on they significant other in public, and that like changed the trajectory of their entire livelihood. Imagine if some higher up level executive or CEO in a company's porn history got leaked because they put all their information into a site, and that site, while collecting their information, also kept tabs on what they were viewing while they were on the site. Imagine that information gets out. Who knows what, you know what I'm saying? The risk factor of that's just not something that I personally would be able to stand behind. Like, don't get me wrong, I 100% understand the detriment that comes with, young underdeveloped minds being exposed to pornography or just any kind of explicit content. I completely understand that. I believe that a lot of the reason why,
it's an addiction.
Absolutely. I believe that it's a big part. I think that my generation is kind of like might be the most hypersexual generation to ever exist, simply because we not only had access to it on the internet, on the wild west of the internet, when it was just when it really didn't have no rules yet, we had access to the internet. But also we still had access to like the OG stuff. Like, I grew up in a house where I had older men who they tried their best to hide it, but if you dig too deep into that box of VHS tapes, you're gonna find something you ain't supposed to find. Like, I grew up in that generation. So like, I'm just saying, like, I know why my generation is so hypersexual. With these kids now, it's just taking on a different form. That's why I said what I said. If they got social media, baby, they've already seen it. They've scrolled past something, or they've clicked something, or they've seen it, whether you want to believe it or not. If they have access to social media, no matter, and I know that parents, I love y'all, and I know you think you're doing your best, But where there's a young will, there's a way.
There's a
And
way.
so
Absolutely.
if they want to see it bad enough, they gonna see it. Or when they little friends who ain't got a parent who's as attentive as you, they have access to it. So they're gonna go to school and show all their friends or send it to the group chat. And that's why I said what I said. It's not that pornography is not an issue. It's that it's just one of them things that you're never really gonna be able to truly control it unless you control the pornography industry. And this is not the way to do that. This is trying to control the people who consume pornography. This is not controlling the industry.
Yeah.
That reminds me when my
No, go ahead.
I just
Go ahead.
got a quick little cute story. Like that remind me when I was little, and my stepfather had this whole collection of Stephen King novels, and that's what made me like love scary movies and everything else. And I would just go through the books because sometimes the books would be more explicit and more detailed than the actual movie. I'm just scrolling in, and this picture of like naked people just like fall out of the I'm just like my little innocent eyes like, what about, and then I put it back like, I have to make sure it's right wherever it was and put it, but like every so often I would check to see, is it still in there? Yes, it is. Oh, and just study those little images again. But I'm just saying, like, kids will find your stash. We will find it.
Yes.
You could try, you can put it in a book,
Yes.
you still find it.
Kids are too curious not to find it. It's why we should be really taking. I know that we like to think that we take conversations about gun control and having gun weapons in the house with kids serious, but we don't. We don't take them serious enough. I know what kind of kid I was. I was an extremely curious kid. It wasn't nothing that could be here in my own house. You could put it on the highest shelf. You can stick it behind every box in this house. I'm gonna find it because you don't left me in this house by myself. I'm bored. Ain't nothing good on TV. I'm going to your closet and I'm looking at stuff. That's the kind of kid I was. And most kids are like that. And I wish that we would stop thinking that they're not. If it's out there, they're
Raven,
going to find it.
what I like about this show, it's kind of a sort of a true confessions thing. You know, that's one of the things I think it's really good about what we're doing here.
Hey, some things are common. Some things are common to life, no matter what. And I think, to Raven's point, that's a great point. I mean, ultimately, protecting your kids always falls into the purview of the parents and making sure that you have, proper controls, that you have better hiding places than most of our parents or uncles or brothers and sisters had, in our households, because I think we can all think of a story like Ravens and like TNTs that we had as kids growing up. I guess my only point it would continue to be is I'm not good of all of the things that I would beat government up on about. I think, trying to come up with ways to protect kids. I think I'm never going to beat up on you too much, even though I agree that the effectiveness and the reach of which they're able to do that with this particular legislation is debatable. I think the points about the security exposure are well-founded and valid. And I think even though I read in some of the reporting where one of the things that they're trying to say is that these sites couldn't keep people's information for longer than, I think, like as soon as the person's identity was verified, their system had to be of such that it could purge that information almost immediately. I think that that's what they were pushing for. But of course, that requires an investment from those companies to, if they don't already possess that technology, to come up with that technology. And are they going to want to spend that money, to be able to push their content in Ohio? So I kind of get where you're going with it, Nathan, in terms of kind of like the de facto censorship and that sort of thing based on some of that. I mean, it's been a good discussion, I think, and a lot of people have raised some good points on it.
Yeah, the more I think about it, it is so easy to sort of circumvent these kind of things. Like all you got to do is get a VPN. That's it. You can get a VPN right now, and it masks where you are. You can say you're from overseas, and you automatically can circumvent it. To me, the more and more I think about this is really about censorship and government control. That's what it feels like at the end of the day. And usually when the government is trying to do something like that, they want to throw out kids and say they're protecting kids, but it's really about giving them more tools to censor whatever they don't like in the near future. So the more I think about it, the more I just don't like it. Now, we had Etso backstage. He dropped off. We got Twin backstage, but Twin, I'm not able to bring you on. When I try to click to bring you on to the show, it won't allow me to do that for whatever reason. So I'm not sure. Maybe you need to, I don't know, jump off and come back on, and we'll try it again.
Well,
Can't
guys,
hear
I
you
have
either.
to go. I have an appointment with a client, but
Okay.
I appreciate y'all for having me on.
Thank you.
I miss being here every Friday, but life been lifing. I'll try to make it back as much as possible.
And Raven, I just want to say your true confessions really touched me. So thank you so much.
You learn to love me more now. They feel good in you.
Hey, congrats on the client, Raven. That means if you got to go to take care of business, that means business is good, and so that's a good thing. We're happy for you in that regard.
Trying. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people look down on pornography, and I guess it depends on what kind of pornography you're looking at. Some of that stuff is just, I just don't have stomach for it. But if you're just trying to get aroused for whatever reason, and this is something that you're into, I don't see a problem with it if you're talking about consenting adults and people aren't being exploited. Just a quick story on Short Vine. There used to be a store called Tip Top Magazine, and you could buy adult magazines and adult videos. And over the years, I just befriended the guy who was up there. We became cool. Don't ask me why I was there. His name was Sean.
What, did he give you like a discount or something?
He did give me a discount. Yeah, he did give me a discount.
Well, that was nice. That's great.
Yeah, we became cool over the years, and I remember just going up and talking with him. He was he was a white guy, real cool dude. I think he was from like Florida. He had a real cool backstory. And I used to I used to play a lot of video games. There used to be a video game store right next to it. So I stop in there and go in and pop in and talk to him. And I would sit there for hours and just talk with him about whatever we were talking about. And I was just amazed at the amount of people that was coming, the volume. And he used to tell me, man, like, this is a great business, man. I mean, from younger people to older people, all colors. He used to tell me all the time, like, he had a whole bunch of clients. And I just felt like there was a lot of lonely men who just needed that because they didn't have a woman in their life, or maybe they did have a woman in their life and they weren't comfortable talking about this type of thing that they were into. So they would go to pornography. And for me, what you do behind closed doors with consenting adults, you're not violating anybody. You're not exploiting anybody. Okay, that's not my business. That's what gets you up and get you to work every day. Okay, you do you. So I don't really judge people as long as they ain't doing nothing illegal and nothing, no children or exploiting people. What you do is what you do. Don't have no impact on me whatsoever.
Yeah.
I think you have strip clubs.
Yeah.
What'd you say? Strip clubs, yeah.
Why would you have strip clubs like Atlanta? You seen that Magic City documentary?
I started it. I got like 5 minutes into it, and it didn't really hold my attention.
I'll tell you a little about the legal history of that stuff here, but continue first. Go ahead. Kevin was going to say something.
No. I just say, like, I'm with you there, Nathan, and in most of what you're saying, just in terms of, again, adults, grown folks doing what they're doing in the privacy of their own home. But I also think that there is also a part of the conversation about the very real impact that some of this has had just on society in general. And I'm not trying to be like prudish or anything like that, but there are some very real world negative consequences that come along with the porn industry, either people who are in it and the stories that come out of that, and even the impacts that it have on people. I'll even say that, I don't know that it has done much for the overall nature of the relationship that men and women have these days. And I mean, there are a lot of studies when we talk about young, lonely men, and that is an epidemic, these days, where you got a lot of young, lonely. They are, a lot of them are young, lonely white men, but there's some brothers out there too. That's out
I'm glad you said that. I was feeling kind of a little.
But it's an epidemic, and where men don't know how to talk to women. In some cases, women are making it hard for men to be able to talk to them. And the fallback on pornography or fake women is a lot like, some of these AI companions and things that you got out here, that there are a lot of people who are settling for the fake versus the real. And I just don't know that that's good overall for society.
But can we agree that's their choice?
No,
Like,
it's absolutely their choice. But if that's my best choice, then there's something wrong with how we are constructing our society in general.
Or it sounds like a personal
it used
issue.
to be one thing. It used to be one thing out there. If I got my woman or I got my several women and I'm watching pornography, or I might even be watching it with them, that's one thing. I'm still like it in its essence, right? And I'm going back to my to my street days in this. In its essence, is best enjoyed when you're enjoying it with somebody else. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but
teach his own.
Yeah, I get that. I'm just saying that there are broader conversations about the impact.
No, I acknowledge that. Yeah, most certainly, because pornography can set up unrealistic sexual expectations in terms of what men expect from women. They expect from real life women to act like the women in the movies, and that's a storyline. So yeah, there's definitely some consequences there, but we can't legislate. The government shouldn't legislate everything. I mean, I could make an argument that the consumption of sugar is even worse for you than the consumption of pornography. But we're not going to curtail that. I mean, you got people out here 50 years old eating fast food. It's terrible for you. So, I mean, we're not going to stop that. I mean, at some point, you have the personal choice to mess up your own body and your own brain, and that's just what it is. Hey, that's what smoking.
Hey, look, I'm all for personal freedom. I'm just saying, within that conversation about personal freedom, we shouldn't downplay the impact of it, right? Like, no. I feel like sometimes when you talk about it, like, oh, it's porn, like it's no big deal. Well,
it's like alcohol. It's the same thing with alcohol.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of people get addicted to it, but we'd all agree it should be legal.
I would say
we also have
worse.
messages out there that says drink responsibly, right? There's messaging around.
Okay, we'll put a label on it then. View responsibly. Okay, but that's a great point, Phil. Alcohol, I think, is way more dangerous and has cost us way more. In fact, it is the most costly of all the drugs than somebody viewing pornography. In fact, I'm here to make the argument.
It's more dangerous than marijuana, too, from a medical standpoint.
Way more dangerous than marijuana in terms of the overall impact, automobile accidents. But I'm here to try to argue for the side that is less research, and that is, if you take it away, you're going to force people to go to these dark, unscrupulous, unregulated places on the internet where all kind of violence and all kind of stuff is going on because they can't get access to Pornhub. And I feel like that's potentially way worse, but it is what it is. See, we got nobody backstage. I'm not sure what happened. Twin, I see he's in the audience. We'll try to get you on if you try to get in. It's the same link, Fame. I can post it again if you want to get on. I'll try it here. Here it is. All right. So I just posted the link. It's at the top of the comment section on Facebook. And if you jump on, and I'll try to bring you on. But let's move on. So more local in terms of Ohio issues. Ohio Republicans are making a move to allow death penalty for politically motivated unalivings. Of course, this is in the wake of Charlie Kirk. Another bill will allow Ohio lawmakers to carry guns in government buildings. So to the crew, we can go one by one, but I want to get your thoughts on both of these proposals. Are these good or bad for Ohio? Do you agree or disagree with them?
Let me address the first one if I could, because I dealt with it. Well, I dealt with something like it when I was a prosecutor.
Hey, Phil, can I just put you on pause real quick? Because we have a guest backstage.
Sure.
And he's probably going to respond to what we were just talking about. So let's see if we can bring him on. What's going on, Edsel?
Hi, guys. How you guys doing?
What's up, man?
No, I'm doing well.
Camera looks and sounds good.
I like the shades, Edsel, by the way. I might want to get a pair like that. It might improve my
I can show you.
Look,
I can show you. I want to talk to you in just a second, council member. How you doing, TNT? It's been a while.
What's going on, Fame?
I don't want to talk to you too long. I don't want Nathan doing the camera thing to me on the show. Kevin, champion forever. How you been, man?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I can't complain. Hey, Phil, let me ask you a question.
I'm not taking any questions now, Ed. So I'm sorry. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Do you know what an O face is?
An old face?
O face.
O face, like the letter O.
Yeah, an O face. Actually, OH.
I know.
But
If you mean all, you're not mispronouncing office. I assume you're
no,
O face. No, I don't know what an O face is. Is this going to reflect badly on me though? Before you tell me.
no. I was just
Okay.
wondering.
All
You
right.
know,
Go
were
ahead.
you able to distinguish?
I don't know what it is.
I was just wondering if you were able to distinguish an O face and somebody needing a Heimlich maneuver. That's all. But did
O face.
this thing by the state? This has got what do you call that? Cyber hack written all over it.
Mhm.
If they put this out Monday, it'll be hacked by Friday, and everybody's information will be out there. It's intentional to cause a chaos. They'll tell you it's about children, but it's really not. This is clearly intentional. There's a I'm not smart enough to know what the end result is, but there's no way this wouldn't be hacked. And you putting your stuff into I mean, you talk about VPNs and all that. I don't know what that is, a VPN. I'm not that tech savvy like that, but I'm sure you go into one of those websites and give them your address, and a picture ID, you'll be hacked in a week.
Mhm. I agree.
I mean, I just don't get the point in it. I just don't understand, because if you go to a dispensary website, you go to a porn website that asks you, are you 18, are you 21 or whatever, you just say, yeah. If you're in there lying, saying that you are, that's on you. That's on your parents for not locking your phone up or whatever. I don't know. It just seems to me it's a complete waste of time, government overreach, and it's a setup for a disaster.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. If anybody disagrees, I'll gladly listen.
It's very invasive. I agree.
No, I think he makes a lot of points, particularly about the hack. I mean, a hack on something like that would be a million times worse than the Ashley Madison hack, right? Which is supposedly the place where the married people could go and get their freak on with other people behind their wives' back. We remember that got hacked a few years ago, and some names got leaked. Some names got leaked out of that. I mean, look, there are a whole lot of people who visit Pornhub and who visit these other sites that, are upstanding, respectable folks in the community. Somebody even threw a shot out there like, yeah, Kev, you sound like you guilty. Hey, look, the stats show that, there are a decent number of religious people, preachers and otherwise, who are addicted to porn. I mean, Kirk Franklin famously came out and talked about his pornography addiction. So the reality is there would be a whole lot of people who would have the cover pulled off of them if there was a hack, as Essel says, and the names get leaked out. That would be devastating to a lot of people, including a lot of Republicans who probably are on there, viewing that content as well. It would be indiscriminate because there are a lot of people who do view that content, more people than you would think actually do.
Chuck Mango at Crossroads has talked about that in his life, and I think that I agree with everybody on privacy. You have the right to do it, but I also think Kevin does bring up the point that I've read enough about this and heard enough messages to know that it is pornography is very damaging to people, and not just young people. Some people just get addicted to it. But I agree. It's people have the right to make their own choice.
Okay, good. Very simple. That's all I have, fellas. Fellas and TNT. That's all I got. It's always a pleasure. I'll keep listening. Y'all be safe.
All right, take it easy. That's Edsel. Now, Phil, you were saying we had switched gears here just to refresh the audience. We were talking about Ohio Republicans want to allow the death penalty for politically motivated killings, and they have another bill that will allow lawmakers to carry guns in government buildings in the state of Ohio. You were saying?
I want to just address the first one. This reminds me a lot about so-called hate crimes, okay? And the way the hate crimes work, which I totally disagree. As a prosecutor, I disagree with the idea, because here's what it says. It says if I go up and shoot you, okay, because I'm trying to rob you, or then I am. But versus if I go shoot you because you're black or you're white, whatever, they enhance the penalty because it's a racially motivated. What the? I mean, come on. It's not like one's worse than the other. They're both terrible. And frankly, I'm talking about the hate crimes. Frankly, it's a lot of BS anyway. And you always see in the news when somebody gets shot or something, oh, we're going to add on, we're going to make it a hate crime. It doesn't mean anything, because when somebody's charged with murder or something like that, taking up one little level really doesn't do anything anyway. And so my point being that the motive for that kind of thing it shouldn't have anything to do with it. And I'm now addressing your point, what you brought up, Nathan, about politically motivated killings get the death penalty. Presumably, other killings don't. I mean, that's stupid. Like I said, if I shoot you while I'm robbing you, why is that less of a crime than if I shoot you because I don't like your politics? This is just an example of somebody trying to make a name for themselves, play off the Charlie Kirk thing, and get their name in the newspaper.
Yeah, I agree with Phil. I don't think this will deter any radicalized anarchists. Most of the time, these individuals, they come in with the preconceived notion of hitting their targets and then taking their own lives, And if it's in the few cases where they manage to apprehend the individuals, you find out that they batshit crazy. And so the likelihood of them getting the death penalty is little to none. They may get life or be institutionalized. When crimes are being committed, I don't see any criminal. I just don't imagine any criminal like, let me check out the Ohio Revised Code to see.
Exactly.
They're not like, oh, it says the death penalty. Well, that changes my mind.
Exactly.
It's not happening. Like, people, if they are enraged, if they're not mentally stable, they're going to do whatever they're going to do. And so this false impression, that most of them go by is that they won't get caught. I think the real deterrent is the investment in the technology that will solve crimes. And so when we have DNA, when we have cameras and face recognition, the one guy that killed the CEO of United Healthcare, like, out of all the millions of people and little images, saying you were able to like find them like that should be a deterrent for most people to just like, you're not going to get away with it. And that's why, some of these individuals come to the conclusion, I'm going to do the most craziest thing, and then I might as well just take myself out because I can't do any time. So I don't see it as a deterrent. It is all symbolic and a waste of time to me.
Yeah, I agree with Phil and TNT. Pretty much what both of them said, but I'll take a slightly different take on this as to why I think it's a bad idea. And I've been consistent on this and on this show, is I think the death penalty in general is a bad idea. I don't agree with it. I think, as I've said many times, whether it's political killings, hate crimes, whatever, I don't think a civilized nation should be in the business of killing its own people. I don't understand how you reconcile the oxymoron of telling people that killing others is wrong, and then you turn around and kill the people who kill. Either killing is wrong, or it is either wrong or it isn't. So you don't right a killing by then turn around and killing the killer. You basically have proven yourself to be a hypocrite. And I think every time that we send out the message that murder is wrong, homicide, killing, shootings are wrong, and then we turn around and we murder people, we're no better. We're a nation that murders. So that in and of itself is why I think it's a bad idea. I agree with TNT's point. I think a lot of these people who do these mass shootings or these assassination attempts, the death penalty is not a deterrent, because I think unless somebody is like, really just kind of out of their mind, mental, which I don't think most of these people are to that extent where they still don't know the ramifications of their actions, that, going into that scenario, that in all likelihood, that's a death move anyway. If you don't, you're not getting away in most of those instances. Like that's not like a drive-by or anything. Like these in most of these instances, the person either takes themselves out, they're killed by the police, or they're captured. Those are generally the three outcomes that come from those situations. So you've already probably made peace with yourself in these situations that's the likely outcome for you. So I don't think it's a huge deterrent. As far as giving elected officials guns in chambers, introduce weapons into environment where there's already heated debate. This is the part that those who are on the mental health side of the gun argument don't seem to get. They're like, oh, well, you're, guns in the hands of law-abiding citizens are okay. Everybody's a law-abiding citizen until they're not, right? everybody is in their right mind until they're not. All it takes is for a moment for you to lose it, and you got a weapon, and you pull it out, and you clip somebody. How many times have we seen stories where people, I can't believe that Johnny did it. I never saw. Everybody is okay. Everybody is law-abiding until they're not. And that is the insanity of putting more weapons in people's hands and thinking that it's safe. All it takes is for one congressperson, unhinged, to lose it in a heated debate and open fire with the weapon that they've been authorized to have in chambers on some of their colleagues on the other side of the aisle, to only look back and say, what genius thought that was a good idea. So no, it's all bad ideas.
Yeah, I mean, let me start there. Yeah, I think that's a terrible idea. I mean, you've already got security. If anything, just beef up your security. But look at this self-fulfilling prophecy that it's like a hamster on a wheel, right? So everyone's concerned about guns because something tragic happens involving a gun, and the first knee-jerk reaction is more guns, which means that it just ups the chances of somebody being hurt. If you're a member of the state Congress or local or state politician, just beef up your security. That's what I would say. That you don't need to have concealed weapons because somebody's going to get hurt and they're going to say, oops, my bad, I didn't really mean it. And I definitely don't want a Plaxico Burress-like moment. If you don't know, he used to be a wide receiver with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He had a weapon on him in a nightclub in New York where you're not supposed to have concealed handguns. He's fidgeting around with his pockets and he shoots himself in the leg, ends up spending, a bunch of years in jail because of it. We don't need that. More guns is not the prescription. It's not the panacea for gun violence. I don't know when we're going to get this in our heads. When it comes to the death penalty is immoral. We are all God's children. Let God be the judge. I just never understand people who profess.
What does that have to do with it? I mean, God be the judge.
Let me say it. I'm explaining it as I'm talking right now. So if you really, in my opinion, I've never understood how people who profess to be so religious and they believe in God, but then you want to prosecute and deliver all of the justice in this world. If you really believe in God, we're all going to have that day when we go before God and we will be judged for our sins. I think it's wrong for the government to take somebody's life in any case. And for anybody saying, well, what if it was your child? I'll say what I always say. I would hope in a moment like that, if something like that happened to my family, that I would have the perseverance of my convictions in that moment to stay right where I am right now. I mean, this is what I feel. And it doesn't matter who the victim of the crime is. But the other thing about this is I'm concerned about something like that being unfairly used. Like I can see, I hate to say it, that perhaps in a state like Ohio, that only left-leaning people who commit, some type of gun violence would be prosecuted under this law. The other thing I read is that it would require that any violent felony prosecutors deem politically motivated to have a mandatory prison sentence of 10 years. I don't like that at all. It almost seems as if they could just add that to any crime that they think fits just to have people locked up for 10 years. I think it's another slippery slope, another knee-jerk reaction. And I think that lawmakers in Ohio can come up with something better to keep us safe.
It's pathetic. And like you said, the lawmakers in Ohio can do way better. When you think about, we're an open carry state right now. And we've been an open carry state. And we're concealed a permitless carry state. And I've even heard State Senator Thomas on the radio saying that he was driving down the street and a white male was walking down the street in Bond Hill near that Thornton's with a aerosol with a rifle, long rifle, and he went inside. I guess the Thorntons and came out, but I mean, I don't know if anybody called the police. But then and people asked him like, why didn't you did you call the police? He's like, well, it's illegal. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it is legal. Like, let a black person walk down the street like that, but it's legal. And so even if you're talking about at the State House and someone coming like that, like what security is going to be able to stop like a weapon of war that could take out people in less than dozens of people in less than a minute? Like, if you're really, really serious, like we would ban those type of weapons altogether. No one is serious. You would tighten up these gun laws. You're not serious. All they're basically saying is we're okay with being soft targets. You know, whoever, you know, becomes the casualty of it, unfortunate, but we'll get you in the end, or we'll sure get you at the end. Why do people have to lose their lives over this? Like, why are we not like in the front end? Like, those type of weapons don't belong in a civilized society. They just don't. Even if you're saying that you're using it for hunting, like a weapon like that mess up the game, like blowing holes into the animal. Like, I wouldn't even want that for an animal. You know what I mean? But it's just like those belong in war, and even war is changing to a degree where we're not, you know, on the ground, boots on the ground and everything else. But to me, it's just like you can't be serious about protection when you're just leaving the elephant in the room just open of the real way to tackle gun violence and with mass shootings and with innocent people getting taken. I don't know any police officer that want to face a mass shooter, you know what I mean, an assassin or anything else. Like, I mean, they got their bulletproof vests, but they're not bulletproof all over. Like, that's a lot to ask law enforcement to go against and face. It's just, we're not being realistic. We're not being fair. We're not being smart.
Hey, Nathan, I got two suggestions that if lawmakers are serious about reducing the likelihood of political violence, they don't even have to go to the death penalty. They ain't even got to start packing guns. Here are two simple things they can do to reduce the likelihood of political violence, and it won't cost taxpayers one single dime. One, tone down the rhetoric. Watch what you say. Reduce the political toxic rhetoric that are spitting out. One that starts coming from the very top, from your president, who, when you say, I hate my political opponents, that type of vitriolic language opens the door for the type of violence that these lawmakers claim that they want to.
Not to mention inciting a violent attack.
Absolutely. So if you want to decrease the likelihood of political violence, check your speech. Don't cost taxpayers a dollar. The other thing, do something. Actually pass some laws that make people's lives better, to where they're not frustrated and angry to the point where they want to take you out because you aren't doing anything to make their lives better. So actually invest some time in passing bills and laws that actually make people's lives better, that actually pull them out of poverty, that actually create more jobs and give them opportunity, that actually creates more affordable and secure housing, that actually gives people the opportunity to get the health care that they need so that they can take care of their families and survive. Those are two things that if lawmakers are serious about reducing political violence, that they could do, and they could change things almost overnight. Tone down the rhetoric and actually do something that's going to make people's lives better. I guarantee you that those two things in and of themselves would dramatically decrease the likelihood of somebody rolling up on you with a gun.
I like both of those ideas. I can go with both of those. Absolutely. One last topic here, off the beaten path, not really about politics, more of a social conversation as we end up and get ready for the weekend.
You're not on the squirrels again. You got something.
Not in the squirrels. No, this is more relationship type.
Okay. All right. Okay.
David Pointnoy, I believe his name is. He was the founder of a sports media organization called Barstool Sports. He was one of the earlier guys who actually cashed out. I think he sold it to private equity and cashed out for hundreds of millions of dollars. Well, he was recently sat down with Shannon Sharp, and they had a very interesting conversation about his ex-wife. And I just want to play it for you and then get your.
She wanted to do something with it. She could have done.
Check this out. I'm gonna refresh it. Check this
Wife
out.
have access to your bank account?
Yeah. I told you I trust her implicitly.
I beg your pardon?
Implicitly, I trust her. If she wanted to take it, she could. There's very few people that you meet where you can trust implicitly. And to be honest, she was there when we were living at the in-laws' house. She was there when we couldn't afford a hamburger. She was there through the grind. She, to me, just like we kind of separated when we started making it.
Right.
So she doesn't get to enjoy any of that.
Right.
To me, that's not right.
Wow. Hey,
I'm a loyalty guy.
You are a boy. You loyal to the song for real.
Yeah.
I don't know too many people doing that.
No, it surprises people. But she could have, if she wanted to do something with it, she
Right.
could have done with it a long time ago.
If your ex-wife, is she married?
She's dating somebody, boyfriend.
Are you cool with that?
Yeah. I want her to be happy. It's true.
But then
friendship.
she can't get no more access, Dave. She got to cut off, cut a little.
I won't even notice if it's gone.
You mean to tell me she might?
I mean, if she takes it all.
No. But she might take like, you know what? I'm gonna have this extravagant wedding. I'm gonna spend, $500,000 on a wedding. You cool with?
Yes. 100%. 100%.
Lord have mercy.
So just to give you context, I mean, basically what he's saying is that, he was married to this woman when he was building up his business before he sold it to private equity. They separated just as he was taking off, but she still has access to his bank account. And he's like, look, I just feel like, she deserves some of it. And I started thinking about it and I thought, I feel the exact same way. Like sometimes you meet people and you just click with them and you have a relationship that transcends anything else. I've been married for 25 years. My wife and I started in college together, struggled, built what little that we have. And so let's say we separated for whatever.
I can sympathize with her, by the way, just from our time we've had.
I bet you can. She deserves your sympathy. I tell her all the time. But let's say we separated for whatever reason. Even if she cheated on me and she decided she wanted to get with somebody else, and then I hit the lottery. I mean, in my heart, I got to be honest with you guys. I feel like I should split it with her. I want to make sure that she is good because we spent so much of this life together. I'm living good now. She's the mother of my children. I couldn't spend the money and not share it with my longest long-term partner. For whatever reason, we might have broken up. I just feel like at this point, our relationship transcends all that minor stuff. But I put it to the crew. What do you think? Is that crazy? What do you think? What would you do?
What I've heard. Well, let's let ladies first. I want to hear what TNT got to say.
I really want to hear what
TNT got to say. So I'm gonna let the lady mine a keep. Go ahead.
So I think it's cool until you remarry. Because you ain't going for that. You ain't going like, oh yeah, your ex still have access to the account. The hell, you know what I'm saying? And if you want to be goofy, it's different. Like you have kids or whatever. Of course, you're gonna have obligations there anyway. But at the same time, like access to the account, yeah, I guess that's all fine and good until you remarry. And to me, that's like if you friends like that, or you still good, like, maybe y'all should go back together. You know what I'm saying? Like, why? You know what I'm saying? Because that's a lot of trust, that's a lot of access, and friends like that, I would think they still they more than friends, really. So if I was somebody coming in and they're telling me their ex still has access to their account, I'll be looking at them sideways like, huh?
Yeah. So my wife and I, after I watched this, I talked to my wife about it because I will say this: that is an extraordinary way of looking at life in a relationship. And I think it's great if you have that type of relationship, loyalty, and connection with a person, even when the relationship doesn't work out, that you can trust somebody to that extent to just say, hey, I'm gonna just leave you on the accounts. And if you want to go in and get a little something, no matter how much, go ahead and do what you do. I think it's difficult for many people to fathom because one, most people ain't working with a bank account like baby, right? Where you looking at every dollar you got in that bank account, you like, hey, you know, you had to make it the best way you can, baby. You know what I mean? And then the other piece is it depends on how you part. Like, I think like sometimes some breakups can be so bitter and so hurtful that that's just a hard thing to do. It's like you done snatched my heart and took everything else, and now I can't give you access to that. So when my wife and I were talking about it, she was saying that if she was the wife, she wouldn't get remarried because she would be afraid to, like what TNT said. If you get into a relationship with somebody else, that might dry that up. They're like, most people are not going to go along if you get into a new relationship, continuing to allow you and whoever else you are with to have access to that money. So she was like, if it was to blow up like that, she probably wouldn't, at least on any kind of official capacity, move into another relationship because she wouldn't want that wellspring to dry up. And I had to admit to myself, it would be hard for me to watch another man who is with my ex spending my money. I've already told my wife that when I come back, all of my retirement and everything I done built up, like I will come back and haunt her if she got another brother up in here living off my investments and my retirement. I don't do it.
But Kevin, don't you want her to be happy?
Amityville horror up in your house. I'm just telling you.
But Kevin, don't you want her to be, if you pass tragically?
I want her to be happy. I don't want no other man.
She's gotta have a companion. Kevin, she's gotta have a companion. Nobody wants to go through life by themselves. If you pass, she's got to have a companion. She don't want to go through life the rest of her life by herself.
She don't. You just got done talking about the beauty of Pornhub and all of that. She got plenty of money. She got Pornhub. She don't need no partner. She had one.
I hear you, man. I mean, that's how you feel. What do you think, Phil? What would you do?
Well, one thing that needs to be considered is if there are children involved, it is very damaging, I think, to kids, especially young kids, to see acrimony between their mom and dad. I think it's just very, very harmful. I feel very good because I have a cordial relationship with my ex-wife, and to be honest, it required some level of forgiveness for different things, and you know that I do because she was on here on the show with us one time. But I'll tell you something, a little story that really made me feel good. About a month or two ago, our daughter, who's 20 years old, she's a wonderful, wonderful, godly girl. We went out to dinner, me, my daughter, my ex. And at one point, my daughter raises her glass, says, "I'd like to make a toast." And, okay, what are you toasting? She goes, "I am toasting to the fact that I am so happy that you two get along." And I'll tell you, that made me feel, whatever happened between me and Rebecca, that made me feel really good.
I love it, man. Kevin, I think you're dead wrong, bro. You're dead wrong. Something happened to you. Let the wifey do what she gonna do. Live her life. If she get married again, she get married again, man.
Hey,
you're not here.
This would not be the first time that I've been dead wrong, and I've known I'm dead wrong, and I'm okay with it.
Are you okay with it?
Oh, it's definitely not the first time. Many times.
From the dead, I am done.
Nah, not me. If I hit a bag, if we get divorced and I hit a big bag, I'm like multiple M's. I'm taking care of her. She cool. She cool because we spent 30 years together. So I mean, what is money if not to take care of the people that mean the most to you? So she'll be Gucci. And if she get a new dude or whatever, I mean, that's what you're doing with your money. Don't come back asking for more after you get your half. That's your half. Do what you're gonna do with your half. I mean, but however you want to spend it is, I would look at it like it's our money. That's how I would look at it, even though we might have separated under whatever the circumstances, because we didn't been through so many dark times together. When you go through dark times, to me, when you go through dark times with somebody, it just engenders and breeds a certain loyalty that transcends any of these little human, little petty differences or whatever. I don't care about none of that. I'm going to make sure you taken care of even after I pass so that you're good. But that's just me. So I understand people feel differently. And I understand it completely. I do. It's like, who is this dude? But I wouldn't even be worried about the dude. I'm focused on her, making sure she would be cool. So
he says, I don't believe you. If she stepped into another relationship, I know you to be a little petty. Nathan.
no,
Little
I mean, as
petty.
long, not even a
Yeah,
little
no,
bit.
you know, like-
It wouldn't make. If we got divorced and she met somebody that was good for her, I would prefer for her. If she wanted to start into a new relationship, go ahead. You ain't got to be lonely for the rest of your life because of what we had. What difference does that make to me? Like, you being lonely doesn't do anything for me.
And when he driving that new, you know what I'm saying, Corvette.
Hey,
like,
whatever. Hey,
you ain't gonna feel no type of way.
I'm not gonna feel no kind of way because that's her money. It's just like anything else. I mean, if we were together and we split it, you get your half, I get my half. What you do with your half is up to you. I'm not worried about that. I'll be worried about my life and what I'm doing and making sure my children are right. And as long as he's treating her good, I don't have no problem with. You can drive.
Hey, I got an idea. I got an idea for a future show.
Yeah.
Now, of all of us here, well, I guess Taris too. Taris and you two guys are married. I think we ought to have. I'd like to have your wives on this show sometime, because I think they could share some really, really interesting things, and we'd be able to have a good dialogue, a good question and answer, kind of thing.
Not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea. It would depend on the topics. But yeah, I mean, we was talking about like social topics or something.
Sure.
Nothing to do with politics at all. Yeah, for sure. We could do that.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be interesting. Maybe we do like the Hot Mic Night Show or something like that.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? After dark, right. You know what I'm saying? That would work. Yeah.
That's good.
Hey, Nathan, you know what? I do believe, based on as getting to know you, and I do believe in the authenticity of what you're saying.
Oh, I mean it 100%.
And while I stick to what I said, I think it depends on the nature. If after, my wife and I have been married for 18 years. If after 18 years we just decided that we were going to grow apart and we weren't doing it for each other right now, and we were both going to go in our separate ways, and it was kind of a mutual sort of agreement, and we had built up some things together, I absolutely see that. And that's why I say I think the nature of the split matters. Like, I can't see a whole, and this would be extraordinary. That's why I said, like, I even think what he is doing is extraordinary, because if you break up in like a not so great way, like somebody cheat on that other person or what, like that, I just think that complicates the ability to have that sense of grace and forgiveness, and to be able to move to that place where you're saying, I'm gonna keep you on the bank account like that. It don't mean like I might not break you off a piece to make sure that you're good, but to leave the account open for you to just keep going in and pulling out, I think the circumstances of the breakup matter. That's just me.
Yeah, I can see that. For me, not so much, because I already know that if we broke up for any circumstances, it would never go down a certain path. It's just not going to happen. Even if she cheated on me and found another dude, even in that, I already know she would handle it in a certain way, and I would handle it in a certain way. So I'm not really worried about that. I mean, you got free will. Don't nobody got to be with you in this world. So, anybody can leave you at any time. So if somebody chooses to be with me for any time, I'm going to enjoy that. And if they decide they don't want to be with me, I'm going to enjoy that too, because my life goes on no matter what. But from a monetary standpoint, if we split and I hit some M's, oh, she good. She good. She good.
And it's the added layer when you have children together too. So I mean that's just different. I think kind of, especially if y'all can, like Phil said, co-parent and it's positive, and why would you not, positive? I don't know if it's so much as letting them have access to the account, but if they ever needed anything, like you don't hesitate to ask. I think I got mutual respect from my kids' father. So it's like, and if I came into $1 million, I like to think, if any of them was down bad, like my son was like, hey, Dad, he hurt right now. Like I think I would throw him something a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Just don't keep asking me for nothing. But yeah, It's like,
you'd give him some spare change. It sounds like, Nicole. So, yeah, all right. That's big of you.
Bentley, but you know, I give you like a little Honda Civic.
Is it Honda Civic?
I don't know, or maybe a used one. I like buying myself like 2,000. Like, here you go. It's like,
yeah, used Honda Civic. I mean, yeah, I get it, but I thought it was interesting. I'm like, man, he must have a really, really strong trust factor with this woman for him to do that. And I can see it. Sometimes you just know people, you know they wouldn't abuse it. You already know what they're gonna do. And so it's like,
but also all his money is probably not in that one account.
Yeah, I mean, sounds like he's got some substantial money, maybe to the hundreds of thousands.
He don't even know how much is in there. He said in the interview, he was like, I couldn't even tell you what she's gone in there. Like if she took all of it, yeah, maybe. But you know, I mean, when you falling like that, you again, like I said, it's difficult for the average person to fathom because we know where every dollar that we have is.
Every half dollar.
It's hard to fathom having enough money to where you can't count where every chip is at.
Right. And then, you know, Terrence writes, I want my wife to be straight while I'm here and gone. 100. Absolutely. So you can't take it with you. So I wouldn't even be worried about it one bit. You know, as long as her and the kids taken care of, I mean, I'll be on to whatever the next adventure is after this life. So I wouldn't be worried about it not one bit. So, but I thought it was an interesting conversation to put it out there. But that's all I got. That's all I got. To the audience, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you. To the crew, including Raven Mundy, who had to jump off a little early, really appreciate her as well. To everybody here, appreciate you. And we're planning to be back on Tuesday, and Terrace is going to be with us. And Phil, you missed the conversation we had. So
what do you mean? I missed. What did I miss? What are you talking
well,
about?
on last Tuesday, me, Terrace, and Kevin stayed on, and we talked a little bit about the show. And
just a second. I don't like people talking about me in front of my back.
In front of your back. Well, this was behind your back, digitally speaking, because you weren't on.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And let's just say the Terrace might have a visual surprise for us on Tuesday. Because he lost a debate with you on last Tuesday. So we'll see how that
came strong. Go ahead.
Still came strong. A little something different. Quinn writes, get a phone line. I appreciate that advice, Twin.
When I hear visual what? You said visual, what was the word?
A little visual, like a prop. Like a visual.
That kind of makes me a little nervous, but okay. Thank you.
Nothing to be nervous about. It should be a lot of fun for everybody.
Yeah, all right. We'll see. Hey, have a great weekend, everybody.
Have a great weekend, everybody. And we'll be back on Tuesday. Until then, take care of yourself and your family.
All right.